99. Mr. House was not at all interested in running vault experiments. As a matter of fact, Vault 21 was located right next to the Lucky 38 in the strip, and Mr. House was not so much interested in running it as destroying it and driving all of the residents out. No doubt because 1,000 or so rowdy people residing in his recreational city of ease, luxury, comfort was a liability. More so, given Mr. House did not own it. We have definite proof he did not own it, because how could Mr. House win a bet over the ownership of a vault with the vault residents if it was already his personal property?
100. I reiterate. The 100th break in law made by the Fallout TV show. The canon Fallout TV show endorsed by Todd Howard and Emil Pagliarulo. 100.
Mr. House was not interested in destroying the world. It's quite the opposite, actually. Mr. House was very interested in preserving Las Vegas for the sake of saving humanity. He saw Las Vegas as the remedy to mankind's derailment. Tell me, how exactly does Mr. House's vision of saving humanity from the apocalypse work when he himself causes the apocalypse?
New Vegas is more than a city. It's the remedy to mankind's derailment. The city's economy is a blast furnace in which can be forged the steel of a new rail line running straight to a new horizon. What is the NCR? A society of people desperate to experience comfort, ease, luxury. A society of customers. With all that money pouring in, give me 20 years and I'll reignite the high technology development sectors. 50 years and I'll have people in orbit. 100 years and my colony ships will be heading for the stars to search for planets unpolluted by the wrath and folly of a bygone generation.
Mr. House was obsessed with efficiency, progress, a world that made sense, a perfect little diorama in a glass dome that no matter how hard you shook it, all the little snowflakes would fall back into place, preserved, perfect, sensible, understood. Mr. House is orderly neutral, perhaps even orderly good. He would not take part in allowing Vault-Tec to destroy the world for 3 good reasons. The first being the absolute cacophony of chaos, of stray variables and unknown quantities it would cause. The second, Las Vegas happens to be a part of the world that he would be destroying. He's very invested in the preservation of Las Vegas. And thirdly, Mr. House simply would never allow someone else to be in charge of Armageddon. If Mr. House wanted the world ended, it would have to be on his terms. He would micromanage every detail, every missile flight path, ensure the planes took off on time. Mr. House would never even consider leaving such an important event as the end of the world to anyone who was not as capable as himself.
And certainly not to a bunch of financially challenged lunatics such as these.
101. Mr. House doesn't bring up the fact that he had already predicted a war was about to occur. Makes this whole meeting to plan the end of the world seem redundant, doesn't it? 102. Mr. House would never say there is a lot of earning potential in the end of the world, because that isn't his opinion of the end of the world. He believes in funding a space project in which human colonists would escape to a new home, quote, unpolluted by the wrath and folly of a bygone generation. He clearly thinks the world has, for lack of a better phrase, gone to waste. And secondly, this phrase is so unbelievably stupid I can't even explain it. How would there be earning potential? Surely not in the terms of personal property. I can understand how hypothetically someone would profit from the end of the world. Maybe if, like, the end of the world was really nice. Like if everyone transcended to a higher form of consciousness, presumably leaving the creators of the Fallout TV show behind. But of the nuclear variety, it's hard to picture how grim your life must be if
plunging most everything and everyone in nuclear fire
would be considered profit to you. Imagine going around the aftermath of Hiroshima and asking people, "Excuse me, how have you benefited from your entire hometown and probably everyone you've ever so much spoken to being vaporized in hellfire? Maybe if you spent a whole lot of money on a doomsday shelter, but you don't build a bomb shelter hoping to be hit by a bomb." Mr. House didn't want the end of the world, he anticipated it. He feared it. He lost everything in the apocalypse. I'm sure Mr. House would have preferred spending his time drinking martinis and fucking starlets, running a vast economic empire rather than being entombed in a silicon prison, overseeing a city of casinos besieged on one side by a nation of frothing tribals seeking to enslave and massacre everyone inside, and on the other, a nation of bureaucrats seeking to legislate and tax everyone inside, with either choice being an equally grim prospect for a libertarian. 103. How could Mr. House be involved in this plan if his own plan fell short because of it? Mr. House was 20 hours short of receiving the platinum chip so crucial to the defense of Las Vegas. The delivery of the platinum chip was supposed to occur the day before the bombs fell.
I set to work immediately. I thought I had plenty of time to prepare. As it turned out, I was 20 hours short. On the day of the Great War, 77 atomic warheads targeted Las Vegas and its surrounding areas. My networked mainframes were able to predict and force transmit disarm code subsets to 59 warheads, neutralizing them before impact. Laser cannons mounted on the roof of the Lucky 38 destroyed another 9 warheads. The rest got through, though none hit the city itself. A suboptimal performance, admittedly. If only the platinum chip had arrived a day sooner. The platinum chip was printed in Sunnyvale, California on October 22nd, 2077, the day before the Great War. It was to have been delivered by courier the following afternoon, but by then, the world had ended. The chip contained vital software upgrades, but not just for my Securitrons. Every aspect of the missile defense grid would have been upgraded too. Given that I had to make do with buggy software, the outcome could have been worse. I nearly died as it was. Software glitches set off a cascade of system crashes. I had to take the Lucky 38's reactor offline, lest it melt down. For nearly 5 years, I battled power outages and more system crashes until I finally managed to reboot my data core with an older version of the OS. I spent the next few decades in a veritable coma, but I survived, obviously, and eventually thrived.
So, Vault-Tec betrayed him and launched the bombs 20 hours early? An oddly specific early launch. Had it been even 20 hours later, the entire plot of New Vegas would have never happened. Mr. House, in the games, thought he had plenty of time. The chip was to arrive far earlier than the time frame in which Mr. House predicted a nuclear exchange starting due to either China or America, or even the European Commonwealth and Middle East starting a nuclear war. As it happens, it was China and his calculations were short. Presumably, Mr. House would have made further preparations had he received the platinum chip. Further upgrades to his army and defense grid, more software improvements, perhaps construct a second sex bot. Although I must admit, the writers of New Vegas are stretching the limits of imagination. Not only Mr. House's delivery, but the grand opening of the Sierra Madre just so happened to all occur around the same day before the bombs fell. Mr. House admits to his miscalculation to the courier. His countering of 68 of the 72 warheads aimed at New Vegas are, in his own words, a suboptimal performance. At no point does he mention Vault-Tec or their role, so obviously they didn't betray him. The other possibility is that China fired first before Vault-Tec dropped the bomb. I have some problems with this idea, but let's just take it as a logical possibility for this discussion. Then it would imply Mr. House had planned to receive the platinum chip before the bombing, maybe weeks, months, or years. Still, there's the issue of Mr. House mentioning he had projected a nuclear war. He at least would have had to have lied by omission to the courier. Alright, how about this? On the very specific premise that A, the Chinese fired first, and B, Mr. House and Sinclair foiled the plans of Voltec and everyone else by telling the government of their plans to nuke the United States, if the writers come out with these two things being true in Season 2, and we have no reason to believe that these off-the-cuff hypotheticals are true, then it would make sense that Mr. House received the chip 20 hours short and obviously would not mention Voltec's idiot plan he helped foil because it wouldn't be necessary information for the courier. As it stands though, we cannot presume the writers are going to do anything, and we must take the show at face value and assume Mr. House either knew when the bombs were going to fall and kind of just forgot, or he planned for the bombs to fall just before he got the chip. Do you see the level of benefit of the doubt I have to give this show for anything to work? I didn't even mention that the Chinese dropping the bombs during peace negotiations doesn't make any sense, destroying the whole set of mental gymnastics and assumptions one has to make for any of this to not be considered a retcon. 104. Mr. House wouldn't be so easily spied on. In New Vegas, you can try to bug his system. He detects it immediately and deactivates it 39.735 seconds after it was planted. Do you honestly expect me to believe that he wouldn't detect a transmitter hooked up to a Pip-Boy, or he wouldn't be careful of any surveillance while plotting treason and genocide? And apparently, according to Fallout 3 and New Vegas Old World Blues, the Pip-Boy 3000 is somehow a Robco invention. Presumably, the Pip-Boy depicted in the show is also a Robco invention, unless Bethesda has already retconned that fact. So that means Mr. House's own invention he is intimately familiar with is being used to spy on him.
The next step is to add the boomers. I'd rather you just dealt with the boomers, but all right. One of the followers of the apocalypse, I'm sure. They're curious about me. Good luck planting a surveillance device here in the Lucky 38 without my knowing about it. Yes, I know. It was detected immediately and deactivated, let's see, 39.735 seconds after you planted it. You thought I wouldn't notice?
Stop the presses! Just in from my eye monitors. Is that Robco tech on your arm? It is! What's your agenda bringing that in here? How dare you bring Robco tech in here? What are you showing off? How great Robert House and his big company are?
Oh, we can make Securitrons better than any robot those geniuses at Big Mountain can make, and they'll last 1,000 years.
You're lucky I don't have hands to tear that dip boy off your arm, or feet to stomp on its stupid metal guts. Ugh. Damn Robco.
105. Mr. House doesn't believe post-war humanity are animals. Neither does he have any preferential treatment towards those that just so happened to be in a vault when the bombs fell. If you listen to Mr. House, he appears very reasonable in his opinion of the Wastelanders. Even the Slitherkin, a particularly savage tribe that Mr. House would be right to consider with contempt, he incorporated into his enterprise as the Omertas. If Mr. House can see the Omertas as capable of contributing to mankind's salvation, what would his opinion be of the average Wastelander? After all, Mr. House wants to save humanity. He sees, therefore, Wastelanders as fellow human beings, because, duh, why wouldn't he see them as fellow human beings? What exactly are these writers trying to say when they suggest human beings are one warhead away from the animal kingdom? Conversely, he doesn't show any preferential treatment of Vault Dwellers. Not Vault 21, nor the Boomers. It's his road or the high road.
The next step is to add the boomers' considerable firepower to my growing arsenal, or at the very least, ensure their neutrality.
Here we have prospered and multiplied. Here our mighty guns destroy any savages who might try to harm us before they can even reach our gates. Well, until... But... Not saying you want to harm us or you're a savage, but...
There's more than one way to skin a cat, as the saying goes. Or went, that is. Cats being extinct. I don't promote political assassination as a first option, but it has a long and storied history. I'll consider the boomers neutralized. Yes, though at the time they called themselves the 𝐷𝐿𝐴𝐼𝐾𝐿, a vicious clan, not that that's changed exactly. They were nomads, capable fighters, but their specialty was betrayal. They'd invite travelers into their yurts, drug them, murder, or enslave them. They took pride in their craft. I don't think 𝐷𝐼𝐼𝐼 saw other people as people at all. Everyone else was just prey. They reminded me of a certain criminal element Vegas used to attract. I told them some stories, gave them some clothes, and they ran with it.
So long as you don't interfere with his parameters, he's happy to let you exist as a known quantity in his equations. This is the case even with the Legion and Caesar, who he's happy to let live, and even discourages the courier from killing just because he happens to know them as a known quantity.
Absolutely not. Caesar is of great use to me. I don't want you harming a hair on that man's head, assuming you could find one.
Mr. House doesn't care who you are, or what you are doing. Just so long as you aren't a threat to him, and therefore mankind, you are free to do as you please. Come to think of it, you could even be hell-bent on his destruction, as Caesar or General Oliver are, and he would still leave you be if he knows a way of dealing with you without resorting to violence, or at least resorting to killing you. I don't think Mr. House is going to be doing any genocides anytime soon, well, unless you're completely hell-bent to the point that there is absolutely no negotiating with you, as with the Brotherhood of Steel, something I have some difficulty believing from the writers, but that's aside from the point. 106. Mr. House's personality. Mr. House, as I've said before, is a pragmatist. He comes across as more machine than man. He's obsessed with efficiency to the point of calculating every possibility to account for every outcome. He is like a machine, cold, calculating, more interested in humankind's salvation out of a sense of progress in the face of the absurd waste of time that will be humanity's extinction than any actual beneficence. The human aspects of his personality, his bodily needs for pleasure and companionship, are met with equally cold efficiency by his machinery. But that is not to say that is all to Mr. House. Scratch away the silicon and you'll find a man who is very much human. If the courier is Legion affiliated, Mr. House will be horrified at the prospect of the future of humanity being a slave society. If the courier is Yes Man aligned, Mr. House curses the player. A good karma courier earns Mr. House's gratitude and begrudging pride in their accomplishments. An evil courier, conversely, is feared by Mr. House. Mr. House displays a quaint sentimentality regarding his snow globe collection, a blinding nostalgia for his home city of Las Vegas. He criticizes the Brotherhood of Steel for their focus on preserving and inventing weapons over technology that could benefit humanity. There's a particularly interesting interaction between Mr. House and the Vault 21 residents. After convincing the Vaulties to vacate the vault and surrendering ownership of the vault, after Mr. House's faction won the roulette game deciding the fate of the vault, Mr. House stripped the vault for parts and filled it with concrete, forcing all of the previous inhabitants to face the mercy of the wasteland. All but two, that is. When Sarah Weintraub and her brother Sheldon came to Mr. House arguing for the retention of the top levels of Vault 21 for a hotel, Mr. House oddly agreed. Mr. House had intended on filling the entire vault with concrete to prevent recolonization, but he seemed happy to allow the Weintraubs to run the upper level as hotel. Vault 21 can't be so great an economic boom that Mr. House would have reconsidered based on their arguments. If it was, he probably would have turned it into a hotel himself. So this seems to be a small glimmer of humanity, perhaps out of respect for their initiative and enterprise, that he permitted Vault 21 to be preserved. Those are the parameters of Mr. House's altruism. His severe actions, such as eliminating the Brotherhood of Steel or expelling the Vault Dwellers, might make him seem evil, but it's all in the service of his vision of progress. Outside of Mr. House's equations, there is room for a species of kindness. Mr. House isn't going to start any soup kitchens anytime soon, but neither is he going to pursue any personal vendettas or cruelly punish anyone out of pettiness. He certainly won't deny a reasonable request from someone when it does not impede his plans. That said, the moment Vault 21 does impede his plans, Mr. House would destroy it without a single thought. After all, what is one vault weighed against the future of mankind? Now, all of that said, this is not Mr. House. Mr. House isn't some evil corporate vampire, rubbing his calloused hands together at the prospect of profiting from the senseless murder of millions of people he considers to be little more than vermin. This is clearly the writer's own political biases, whether genuine or not, stuffed into a straw man they named Mr. House.
Why have you done this? Centuries of preparation. So much good undone. Fool! To let personalities derail future of mankind. Stupid! May there be a hell for you, a Tartarus bleak, unending. Why have you? Slavery, the future of mankind. What have you done?
It was a place of splendor. As magnificent as today's strip may seem, it's but a shadow of the neon paradise that was Las Vegas. I grew up not far from here, and though I traveled the old world extensively, I never found another place like it. Your next assignment is to locate and destroy remnants of the Mojave chapter of the Brotherhood of Steel. The NCR nearly did the job at Helios 1 a few years ago, but there seem to have been survivors, unfortunately. Given the Brotherhood's fanatical views on technology, they can be counted on to oppose my regime. Please, put them out of my misery. We're talking about a coterie of bulging-eyed fanatics who think all pre-war technology belongs to them. They'll never accept my using an army of robots to defend New Vegas. While it's a fight I can win, I'd rather sidestep it altogether. Handle the Brotherhood, I hope? They're a terrorist group, basically. Militant, quasi-religious fanatics, obsessed with hoarding pre-war technology. Not all technology, mind you. You don't see them raiding hospitals to cart away auto docks or armfuls of prosthetic organs. No, they greatly prefer the sort of technology that puts people in hospitals. Or graves, rather, since hospitals went the way of the dodo. Because they're ridiculous. Because they gallivant around the Mojave, pretending to be knights of yore. Or did, until the NCR showed them that ideological purity and shiny power armor don't count for much when you're outnumbered 15-1. The world has no use for emotionally unstable techno-fetishists. Just wipe them out, will you? What of it? I enjoy them. There's something about a little diorama set inside a glass dome that I find pleasing. If you run across any out in the wastes, turn them in to Jane. She'll compensate you. What else did you want to discuss?
Now, unfortunately, to finish up this critique of the Fallout TV show's Mr. Mouse, we're going to have to get into the most vile topic known to man. Modern politics. I'd prefer not to get into modern politics for the same reason I prefer not dousing myself in gasoline before juggling flaming torches. And to make it clear, I have about as much interest and knowledge of juggling as I do current affairs. But since this show is insisting on coming across as a political satire, I must assess its ability to satirize as an adaptation of a video game franchise from a politically neutral perspective as an independent and unbiased critic.
As directed by the stone-chiseled codex of the anti-natalist anarcho-primitivist utopia.
Mr. House's character is clearly being retconned due to the writer's lack of political savvy and imagination, both great things to be deficient in when you go about adapting a popular franchise as a political satire. Mr. House is an awful character to use as an example of the shortfallings of laissez-faire economics, or capitalism as we seem to be calling it nowadays. That's because Mr. House, as he is depicted in Fallout New Vegas, is the perfect model for a capitalist. He recognizes a demand in the market, being the NCR's advancement towards the state of a post-industrial economy in which the basic needs of the majority of its citizens are being met.
I repeat, a post-industrial economy where the basic needs are being met for the majority of its citizens.
The NCR can grow food, mine resources, it can manufacture goods out of these resources, it can protect its citizens, but it cannot meet the needs of its people for the higher tiers of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Companionship, aesthetics, esteem. In other words, it can keep people alive, but not fulfilled. That is what New Vegas provides. Fulfillment is what it has always provided. A city of services. It's about the only thing out there in the Mojave of any worth.
What is the NCR? A society of people desperate to experience comfort, ease, luxury. A society of customers.
But Mr. House isn't just a parasite hoarding wealth for the sake of funding a lifestyle of degeneracy. His accumulation of wealth is being directed towards something greater than his own petty personal needs. It's being directed towards mankind's salvation, the reignition of civilization, the restoration of humanity to a previously achieved technological state, and progress towards an even greater technological height than even the pre-war era had attained. Mr. House is probably the most altruistic capitalist in the history of Fallout. The show can't deal with this. It doesn't care about representing a pre-existing character, so instead distorts and twists it into whatever shape suits the foreign narrative that molded from this desecrated corpse we once called Fallout. And it isn't even as if Mr. House or his economic philosophy cannot be criticized and used to point out the flaws in the real world. The writers are just too lazy to make any effort to create their story within the limitations of Fallout. For example, Mr. House's economic plan does nothing for the poor of New Vegas in the short term. In fact, in cases like the Omertas, it practically preys on the vulnerable. This is something the writers of New Vegas point out through characters written into the world who would naturally form these criticisms based on their own characterization. This would have been obvious to the showrunners had the series adapting Fallout on the West Coast been co-produced by the people who actually made the West Coast Fallouts, rather than a wooden puppet who dreams of being a real boy and a real boy with the writing skills of a wooden puppet, neither of whom knowing the first thing about the West Coast Fallouts or otherwise not giving a shit. But even without the insights of the creators, it's still not hard to write a criticism of Mr. House's economics. New Vegas doesn't really succeed in providing the higher tiers of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. It supplies no real comfort, companionship, or intellectual stimulation, just illusions of them. It's a mirage in the desert, luring desperate travelers to their doom. Maybe Mr. House's venture started out good, providing things people needed, but now all he does is sell crappy products, all ditched up nice and pretty that offer nothing of sustenance, where it could be providing people with something real, something that might improve their lives, instead of cheap shots of quickly subsiding dopamine. Vegas is an echo of a more glorious and sublime past that now exists as no more than a mockery of what once was. It's a haven for liars, hacks, fiends, fools, and traitors. And above it all stands Mr. House, a once great entrepreneur, now a callous autocrat completely disconnected from his humanity, farming idiots under the shaky premise that one day he'll take mankind to the stars. One day, once he's stacked enough desecrated corpses to reach the outer limits of the atmosphere. But tell me, do you really want a man so disconnected from his own humanity, so apathetic to the suffering of others, to design the living conditions for a long-term colony vessel? Do you want someone like him in charge of an extraterrestrial frontier society? Does it sound like such a mission would succeed? Would it be even worth it if it did? Would this new world, clean and virgin, not expect the same desecration that was used to propel humanity from their old world? Mr. House might be able to keep people alive, maybe even distracted, but he offers nothing better than that. He'd help mankind to survive, but not to live.
You see that, shoulders? That's me, using the Fallout franchise to construct a genuine work of satire without the need for rewriting the entire story or retconning the lore. Where's my $150 million, Amazon? I don't even believe in everything I've just said. Where's my $150 million?
And with that, we have the capstone on this house of lies that is meant to be the character known as Robert Edwin House.